All right, we're going to talk about harmonic intervals.
All right.
Okay, so let's break down these two words just a little bit. Harmonic, any idea on what that is talking about?
The thing that complements the melody.
Okay, so you're talking harmony complements a melody. Harmony is more than one note going on at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So if melody is our kind of our one note, then the harmony is going on at the same time. That's important. What about intervals? Any idea on what that is?
Like, I don't know, like these groups or something.
Okay, has to do with groups or sets maybe. I think another good way to think about it is an interval is kind of like the space between, right? So you need two things to be happening for an interval to occur. That happens in sports, right? If you do interval training, then you'll sprint and then do something, slower and then sprint. That's interval training. You need two sets. Okay, so we're talking harmony, music, right? Notes happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Intervals, something about the relationship between those two notes and the space between them. So I'm going to tell you how to figure out intervals and then how to recognize them quickly by sight. So like you said, Chandler, say this is part of our melody. That's what we're basing the harmonic part of this off of. And we need something else, interval, going on at the same time. So I'm going to put another note here. So you can tell just by looking at it, it's going to be real crunchy. These notes are real close together. So this is, just by counting up, is one easy way to figure out what the interval is. It's 1, 2. So this interval is a second. Okay? You count the first one, 1, and then 2. That's a super easy interval to see, the interval of a second, because it's right next to each other. Let's take that away. We're just going to go up. You'll see the pattern. 1, 2, 3. That must be a
third interval.
A third. Yeah, that interval is called a third. And then the same. So I could keep going up all day, right?
4.
That's a fourth. This is a
5.
Fifth.
Or fifth, my bad.
This is a
6.
sixth. 2 more.
7.
7.
And 8.
And this is an eighth. And what's another? What else could we call an eighth?
Same note.
It is an octave, right? The same, and that's an important distinction. So this would be the same note. Another thing to call the same note is, do you know? It starts with a U.
Unison?
Unison, right. So this is unison. This is different than unison. It's an octave. Some people say unison octaves. That's a little bit misleading. That's when maybe the girls are singing the melody and I want to say, guys, we're just going to sing unison down the octave, right? That's not really unison because unison is the same note. I could just say, sing an octave below them. That is an eighth. No one really says eighth. People say octave or perfect octave, okay? So now, let's talk about how to recognize this more quickly so that you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whatever. So let's start with the same note down here. This one is easy. We already said a second, right? That's just right next to it. No matter where you are, we could start here. A second is just the next one. Above it, okay? Then the odd numbered intervals, third, fifth, and seventh, are all pretty easy. A third, in this case, is going space to space. If we had started on a line, it would be line to line. Space to space or line to line. That is so easy for our eyes to recognize. Likewise, if you continue that pattern, like odd numbers or odd intervals do, it's always going to be that way. Right? So if you see this, you know it's a
third.
Okay, good. Luke, this one's for you.
Fifth.
A fifth, right. Because it's space to space, like a third or like a seventh, but there's only 1, 3, 5. Easy to count. Or how about what if I start here? What's that one?
Fifth.
A fifth again,
Yeah.
right, absolutely. And let's go back to, how about this note? So space to space, what are we talking about?
It's an odd number and it is a 7?
1, 1, 3, 5, 7. Perfect.
Um,
Okay, so the third, the fifth, and the seventh always go space to space or line to line. If you start on a line, you're going to end on a line. If you start on a space, you're going to end on a space. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so then, what does that mean for the fourths and the sixth, right? Those are the only intervals we haven't talked about. If we're going to start here, we're going to end there. And this is a what? Count up first with me. 1, 2, 3,
4.
4. Right, okay. So, you know, if it's a fourth and you start on a space, you're going to end
Oh, a line.
on a line. Right, and the opposite is true. If
So,
I were to
yeah.
start this interval on a line, I would end on a space.
And that's how you know it'd be a 4th or a 6th.
Right, well, that's one way for our eyes to quickly identify it as a fourth or as
So
a
if
sixth.
it's different, like if it's a line ends on a space, that would be an odd number?
If it's a line and ends on a space,
That's
if where it starts and where it ends is not the same,
yeah, that's an odd.
then
That's
it's
an
an even.
Wait.
Let's count and I'll show you why. Okay, so where we start is always the first one, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you see how I'm counting? Because I'm going
Yeah.
space, line, space, line, space, line, space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, the way that ends up, odds start and end on the same.
Okay.
Oh, odds.
Mhm.
Odds end on same.
Mm-hmm.
Evens.
So thirds, fifths, and sevenths will end in terms of line and space on the same as what they began. And then fourths and sixths don't match up that same way. So if it starts on a space, it's going to end on a line. Or if it starts on a line, it's going to end on a space. Both of these are fourths. A sixth looks similar. Start on a space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, end on a line. Right? Or start on a line, end on a space. And that's sixth. They don't, fourths and sixths start and end differently.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mhm.
Yep.
Cool. That's it.
All right.